Welcome to Loving Me Before I Love You with Tammy Nicole, the podcast dedicated to you loving and putting yourself first. Others have come first in your life for years, and you know it's time for that to change. You're about to be empowered to set healthy boundaries, confidently have hard conversations, unapologetically put yourself first, and live the peaceful life you deserve. Remember, self-love is essential, and loving yourself sets the stage for every other love in your life. So get ready to embrace self-love like never before with your host, Coach Tammy Nicole.
Hey family, welcome back to Loving Me Before I Love You. As you know, we're still in the month of May and today is no different. We will be talking about mothers who are thriving. I did say thriving as mothers of special needs children. We are super excited to have this conversation. I don't think it's talked about enough, but we have a special guest with us today. Her name is Miss Angelica O'Brien. She is a mother of 3. She is also a woman who works in the mental health field. She works with special needs children on a regular basis, and she also caters. I am going to ask her a little bit about that food because I'm a foodie, but we'll try to stick to the subject today. Again, welcome, Angelica. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited about this.
I'm excited to have you. I don't think we really talk about mothers and mothers that have special need children enough in reference to the support that they have or don't have as far as like, what does it really take? We sometimes like sympathize with them because we know it's got to be a lot more work than just raising a child that does not have special needs. But we don't really talk about it. And so I'm glad that we are having this show to really discuss like what that really looks like, what it feels like, where the struggles are, where the triumphs are. Because, with anything, there's hills and valleys. And so
right, for sure.
I'm looking forward to talking about it. So can you share with us a little bit about your journey as a parent of a special needs child?
Sure. I actually I'm a teen mother. Well, I was a teen mother. And so I think that added to my struggle too, because I went into labor on my 19th birthday. And so everything was just super new. And so as she began to develop and I started noticing things, when we talk about lack of support, I think some of it came from ignorance because everyone felt like, I'm a young mother, I'm a new mother, or you're paranoid, there's nothing wrong. And it wasn't that I felt anything was wrong with her, but I just saw that she needed more support. And so that was a struggle, like even with the doctors, with trying to get them to help me figure out, what was going on with her. But as time progressed and she got into grade school, it became, more obvious some of the difficulties that she had. And then because she's 13 now, but as she's grown older, I've gotten more and more support. But at the very beginning, it was very troubling because it's like, I even struggle with myself thinking, am I comparing her to myself? And, like what's really going on? But, I do have a great support system now, and that helps me and her even on our hardest days. I would say that like, just having that support really helps.
Awesome. What have been some of the most rewarding aspects of this experience for you?
Oh, definitely patience. She has taught me patience and selflessness. I mean, as a mother in general, you will learn to have patience and to be selfless. But when a child has special needs, it's like you got to pull from where you didn't even know you had it. On days like, it's an everyday thing, but on certain days when they're struggling more, and it definitely broadens your understanding because whereas I'm upset or frustrated with what's going on, I have to think about how hard it is for her, because of the way that she sees the world. It's difficult for her. So it makes me step outside of myself to be like, okay, well, I'm frustrated, but how can I help her through this? And that's the beauty of it. She just makes me a better person because I take that and I use that with anybody I'm dealing with. Like someone, cut you off and they're screaming and stuff, and you're thinking, well, what kind of day are they having? Like, what made them do that? And so instead of putting out more negative energy, you try to think about, how can I make this positive? And I have to say that that's from being a parent to a child with special needs. It really changes how you see the world, and you want to look more into people instead of just reacting to what you're getting.
That is a great point. And we don't really think about it, to be honest. You saying that actually had me over here reflecting myself, like, yeah, we tend to just respond and react based upon how we feel or what our experience is in the moment. I can't even recall. I'm not saying I've never done it, but, having that phrase that you just said, like, what could they be going, like they could be going through something too while they're either doing or acting the way that they're acting. And I shouldn't add fuel to the fire and just kind of respond based upon what I, experience. So that is a very good point. Never really thought about it from that perspective. I'm just like, oh, well, they did this or they said that. I'm just responding,
Right.
But yes, people do go through a lot of things, and they could be having a bad day. And as you say, you don't want to continue to put negative energy out there. You can change the trajectory of the situation by considering the possibility of them having. So yeah, that's. I'm glad she taught you that because you can teach the rest of us. You said she's 13, so and she's a girl. So do you have those same? The look on her face, guys. I know you're probably like, why is she laughing? The look on her face, because we already know where I'm going. They always say teenage girls are the hardest because their attitude changes. The hormones come into play, and you have all of those things kind of happening at once. And then you add the special needs portion to the equation. Like, was that a difficult transition for you? Are you guys still going through the transition? Like, how was that for you?
It is difficult. Puberty in general is difficult.
Right.
But, because I was a middle school girl at one point. So, I remember like that awkwardness. I remember just waking up and like just feeling like my parents were my enemies one day. Like they didn't even do anything different. It's just like, oh, I can't stand them. Everything they was doing was irritating me. So like I remember the hormones flowing and things like that. And then, just wanting to fit in and, liking boys and wanting them to like me and things like that. Like I remember that, but it looks way different on her. And I'm trying to help her understand it. It's hard to understand as it is. Like I don't understand it, but just trying to help her through it is difficult because she can't really explain it to me. Like I could tell my mom that like I had a bad day, these girls were saying this about me, it hurt my feelings because it wasn't true, blah, blah, blah. Like I could say that. And then my mom could tell me, okay, don't worry about that or whatever like that. But with her, it's different because I can tell something's wrong with her. And then I'm asking like, hey, what's wrong? And she's like, nothing, I'm tired. Or she'll just say nothing at all. She'll just freeze up. And so now I'm having to try to figure out what's wrong without like guiding her. I don't want to say, hey, did someone say something about you? Because she might just say yes, like just to get me to, stop.
Leave her
So
alone.
just trying, and I don't want to leave her alone. I want her to tell me what's going on in her own way so that I can help her as best I can. And I think that that's the most difficult part is that the communication is lacking. And so it's like, how do I help her when she can't even tell me what's wrong with her? And so then she'll act out in some way, doing something totally unrelated. It could be anything from writing on the walls or tearing up something that is important or, just doing anything like that. It's not always like an attitude where she's talking back. It could be something else where she's acting out. And I have to be a detective to figure out like what is wrong and then see how to help her and how to get her to understand. So I think that that's the most difficult part. And then also her not fitting in, because, you know, the kids know she's different. And some kids are kind to her and they just kind of like, I guess in a way they pity her, which, you know, that's not really a friend, but at least they're nice to her. But then there's other kids that, you know, take advantage of the fact that she's different. And then her trying to navigate that, because she's not good at telling who's being nice and who isn't. Like, she knows when someone's being definitely mean, but when people are like leading her to do things, like, she doesn't exactly see that. So it's kind of hard to teach that, because it's like an instinct that you have. Like, I can't teach her an instinct, you know? So it's like, you know, that part is really difficult with, you know, her not being able to communicate it to me. So I have to try to figure it out to help her.
Yeah, I can imagine that being difficult. As you say, you can't teach instinct or how to decipher, you know, manipulation and genuineness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, you know, that would be extremely difficult. I think it's difficult teaching a child that doesn't have special needs, like how to choose friends, and understand people's behaviors behind their motives. You know, like, my daughter's 11, she'll be 12 in August. And when I listen to her talk about friends or the different friends that she interacts with, it's always like, oh, this is my best friend. This is and I'm like, wait, you know,
Right.
last week it was this person. This week is somebody else. Like,
oh my goodness.
we need to talk about what this word friend means and what it looks like as a whole. You know, like, people are nice to you today, mean to you tomorrow, but they were your best friends yesterday. You know, like,
Right.
so
Right.
that is definitely a rocky road to navigate. And then like trying to figure out what they really understand.
Yeah.
Like what are you really grasping in this conversation, or that I'm trying to teach you? You can probably tell me back what I said, but still not understand it.
That's not understanding, right? Yeah. That was hard for me to learn that too, because I would ask her to repeat. I'm like, what did I just say? She's like, okay, like the whole time. And I'm like, what did I say? And she would tell me. And I'm like, okay, she's got it. And then another situation would happen. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, she did not get it at all.
And that happens because, again, I can tell you what you told me. Doesn't mean I understood it to the point of applying it.
Right.
And so I guess, like, when we are trying to teach them and trying to protect them the whole time, it's just always like, I just want you to get it. I just want you to understand. I just want you to do this, that, and the third. And it becomes draining. So how do you, as a mom, take care of yourself during that process? Like,
I'm struggling with that one. I'm actually lately I've been trying to do small things for myself. If it's not, you know, it's not going to be a whole day. Like, you can't always, I would love to just have a mental health day, but I can't always do that. So maybe a mental health hour or 30 minutes or 15 minutes. Like, let me just read one chapter of this book. Let me just soak in the tub for, 30 minutes. Let me just eat this thing that I want to eat, drink some tea, like find someone that want to watch some show, like binge watch some. I mean, lately I've been binge watching Judy Justice, and it's just like, and my husband is like, why that show? And I'm like, I don't know. I think it's the nostalgia, but it's just, I am so happy just sitting there watching that and having nobody bother me. Like, I'm so happy to do that. And it's the little things like that, just remembering like who Angelica is. Like, I know who mom is. I know who wife is. I know who the employee is and everything like that. But it's like, who am I? What do I like to do? So getting back to some of the things that I like to do, that's a very important part.
Absolutely. And sometimes you might have to schedule it. Sometimes,
yes.
And even though scheduling time for ourselves can be difficult a lot because we're so busy, trying to take care of other people, as you say, trying to be a mom, trying to be a wife, and an employee. It can be very difficult to actually schedule the time to take care of you. But sometimes if we put it on the schedule, it makes it easier to remember to do so. It may not happen at the exact moment, that exact time, but being able to see it on a calendar, see it in our face, and remind ourselves that, we're important and that we need to take time out for us could be very beneficial.
Yes, like simple things like charging my laptop. What I'm doing right now. I really do forget a lot of things, and I'm someone that is good about scheduling. Like, I do my calendar for the month, like a month before. So we're at the end of April now, and my May calendar is already full. Like, I've already written it out. I know what I'm gonna do. I know what I have planned to do. Even the plans that are not solid yet, they're already on there. They might have a question mark by it, but I have that on there. And I think I want to start scheduling mental health days for myself because I think that would be important. That's the goal. So we started off small by saying, okay, today this is what I want to do. If I don't do anything else for myself, it's going to be grabbing a coffee or getting some lunch, just something for me and not anybody else, because I'm so like in mommy family mode that it'll be something simple as, okay, I'm going to go to the store, I'm going to buy me a candle, and that's it for me. And then I end up buying toys for the kids, clothes, something for my husband, this and that. And it's just like, and then leave without the candle. So I'm just at that point where I'm just trying to say it's okay to do it just for me. They're fine. Like, they have what they need, they have what they want. They're not going without. It's not like I'm, neglecting them to do something for me. And then I'm remembering that in order to be better for them, I do have to focus on me. And that's what
Absolutely.
you and I were talking about with the self-love.
Yes, absolutely. Because a lot of times we forget about ourselves. And the reality is, without you, there is nothing else that can happen, right? So you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of your health, your mental health, just your well-being as a whole. And that comes with doing things you like.
Yeah.
Be it fun or necessity, you have to still do it. The world, they're not going to fall apart if you can't do something for them or you don't buy them something. They're not going to fall apart.
It's
And
really hard to remember that in the moment. You really, a few years ago, I was going to the doctor. I couldn't understand what was wrong with me. I was having all type of like just medical issues, and I just was feeling ill, but it wasn't this, it wasn't that. I didn't know what it was. And I went to the doctor, and he told me that I had a vitamin D deficiency. And I was like, well, how do I do that? Like, I eat, I'm drinking, because I had problems with my health before, with just like, I'm working, not drinking water, not eating properly. So I was like, no, I'm eating, I'm drinking, what's going on? And he was like, you need to get outside. He was like, what are you doing during the day? And I was like, well, I go to work and I come home, I cook, I clean, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And he was like, okay, do you take a walk? And I was like, a walk? Like, I was like, what are you talking about, a walk? I walk from the car into the house. Like, what do you mean? And he was like, you need to be outside. He was like, that's really it. And I thought he was joking. I was like, is there something I can take for this? He was just like, you need to be outside. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I hadn't thought about the fact that I'm in my workplace and then I'm in my home. Like, I'm not anywhere. I'm in a store. I'm in a doctor's office. I'm not really outside. And that became important, that even if I can't take a walk in the park, just sit on the porch. Just sit on the porch and just kind of, reflect and just, and even if I, have to bring the kids out, let them run around and stuff, let them play or do whatever they're doing outside. And I don't even care if they're on their phones. We're just going to sit outside for a while. And I think that that's very important.
Yeah. Take in the breeze.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sit in it for a minute, just to be still. So I think even that we take for granted. We are always on the go. We're on the go for any and everything. There's always something, but we rarely take time to just literally sit still. 5-10 minutes of sitting still, not thinking about what you got to do next, not planning for what is coming next. Just be still.
That's really hard to do.
Yeah, it is. And I always try to teach the women that I coach that's the starting point. The starting point is, can I sit still for the next 10 minutes without thinking about anything that is work related, child related, husband related, anything that I got to do outside of sit still.
Hey, hope you're feeling the love in today's episode. We'll pick back up where we left off in a moment. First, we're excited to share that Tammy has a collection of self-love t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, and journals for you to express how much you love yourself to the world. From comfy hoodies to motivational mugs, there's something for everyone. While you're listening to today's show, feel free to browse the full collection at IamTammyNicole.com. Thank you, and without further ado, let's get back into today's show.
Honestly, this podcast, as I was telling you earlier when we were talking, it's my first time doing it. This is part of that self-love I was talking to you about. I've always wanted to do it. Always wanted to do it. It just never did it. And when I saw the message, like at first I was like, I'm not gonna worry about it. Maybe next. And I was like, no, you know what? Do it. Take that time, to sit down and just talk and do something that you've always wanted to do. This is something that's for me. Obviously I hope that it reaches others and that they, take something from this, something positive from this. But it's just me telling y'all, this, do something like this. Like, this is something that, and once I'm doing it, like you told me, it's so easy. Like, I don't know why I was shying away from it. Like, this is something, and I feel great about it, and just taking something, this has nothing to do with my family. This is something that I wanted to do. And I think that that's very important, but it feels so weird to do something just for myself. I just feel like so selfish doing it, but they're fine. They're in there having a good time in the other room, but I'm also enjoying just being here and sitting here and having this conversation with you and not doing something for someone right now.
Yeah.
That, like, just having that break.
We take a lot of stuff for granted, because again, when we as women, right, feel like we're only here for other people, right? We're nurturers, we're caretakers, and we feel like everything regarding our life is always for other people. And for the most part, it is, right? For the most part, it is. Let's just keep it real. But if we are not whole, being that for other people doesn't really exist in a space of completeness and healthiness. And you know what I mean? Like, it exists, but it's half done. It exists, right. You know what I mean? Like, but because you didn't fuel yourself first, you didn't make sure that you were good before doing all those things, or you can't pour from an empty cup. So, right. But most of us do. Because most of us find our identity in what we do versus in who we are.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's so true. it's the reality. Most of us find our identity in what we do and versus who we are. And so when I look at being a mother, and as you being a mother of a child that has special needs, it's like we have to find where we fit on top of, And so I like to encourage women and mothers that, you're not your job title, be it at work or at home. A mother is a job title. It's a lifelong job title, but it's a job title. It's not who you are. So because you're not that, I encourage everybody, all women, to get to know who you are so that you can show up as that individual performing that job duty, not just
Right.
show up to be that job duty. You
Right,
know,
right.
it's a whole
No.
difference. And a lot of times, you know, I can ask someone, "Who are you?" You know what I mean? And the first thing they say is what they do. I said, "That's what you do. That's not who you are."
Yes, that's it. I heard when you were talking to me about self-love, I heard it saying, I don't know where, it was just a long time ago, someone said, like, you can't love anyone more than you love yourself.
Yeah.
And it's something that stuck with me because even when you see people who like aren't loving you correctly, when you actually like look at them, you realize that like, oh, like you don't love yourself, and like you project a lot of what's going on with you on me. And that's when you have people that accuse you of things that you're not doing, and the list goes on. But I realized that the more I started loving myself, the better I started loving my family
Mm-hmm.
and my friends, and like just caring about everything in general. Because if I'm just like going through the motions, then everybody's going to get that autopilot, and that's not your best. And that is how I've been becoming a better person, because I was just sitting there like, I'm trying to be better, I'm trying to do better. And it was so taxing on me to push myself to be who I thought I was supposed to be. And then I started focusing on me. I started focusing inward, and like looking at my flaws, and just accepting myself and loving myself for all that I have done and all that I do, and, learning from my mistakes, owning my mistakes, and still loving myself through all of
In
that.
spite of. Mm-hmm.
Right. That's the hard part, especially when you don't want to think of yourself as anything negative, but you have to accept it sometimes. Like, I was
But
really
we're
a
not
jerk.
perfect. But we're not
Right.
perfect, right? So
Right.
I tell people all the time, like when you love yourself in totality, it includes the
Mm-hmm.
flaws. It includes the things
Mm-hmm.
you don't like about you. It includes everything that you've done wrong. It includes everything that you do right. We're not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you are like when you're in any relationship, like that relationship is a reflection of who you are. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, like you mentioned, you couldn't love them the way that you probably desired to love them because you really wasn't loving you to that full
Mm-hmm.
capacity. Over here, I say it all the time. You're supposed to love yourself so much that the love from others is a bonus. It's not.
I like that.
That is what we live by over here, because self-love is essential. I can't love you more than I love myself. Right.
It's true.
Me loving me, that's the foundation. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
the base. Period. I don't love myself. I can't teach you how to love me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right. That part.
As a mother, if I don't love myself, I can't teach my children how to love themselves. Yet alone do I teach them how to love me too, because they're people. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
you can say, oh, it's an automatic love. It is. It's an automatic
For
love
sure.
for them because they're yours. But the extent of love is not the same if you don't have that love for you. It's, you give it to them and say, oh, I just want to take care of you. I love you because I've taken care of you. But you have to deposit within them to be better people and to be amazing human beings. And you don't give
Mm-hmm.
them that part when you don't love you.
I think it just sounds nice, everyone, when you say stuff like, I love you more than I love myself. You're thinking, oh my gosh, that's great. Because it sounds like, it's like, no, wait, don't do that.
Mm-mm.
Don't love me more than you love you. Then you're not gonna love me right.
No.
I know that.
Yeah.
I
A lot of
know that.
cliches we have out here don't make sense. Let's just keep it real.
Right, right.
People say it
You
just to
just
say it.
you're so used to hearing it, like, and now, and from this mindset, you're thinking like that's actually kind of messed up. Like, why
Yeah.
would you love someone more? You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and now I see that, because I mean, I'm guilty of saying it myself. Like,
Yeah.
to my children, to be like, I love you more than I love. Like, I put you first. And it's like, no, you're not supposed to. Yeah,
I
I
go
have to put me
first.
first. Right. And so sometimes that looks like, and I don't want your listeners to think that, like, when I'm doing these things with myself, that it's even perfect. Like the other day, I wanted to soak, because I had a rough day, and I was like, this is the one thing I have, being that I'm pregnant now, I can't just have my glass of wine at the end of the day like I would want, so I was like, this soak is the one thing that got me through the day, is getting to this soak. And that day in particular, for some reason, my son just could not, he'll be 2 in July, he just could not have me out of his sight. And I went and I got in the tub, and he screamed and cried and told me to let him in the entire time. His dad was, out there in the front. So it's not like I left him by himself, but it was just like, and I so wanted to just open the door and say, just let him in. Just let him come in. And I was just like, nope. Like, turn the music up. Like, take this 30 minutes and just he'll be okay, because he's fine. He was fed, he was clean. He just wanted to be in the tub with me, even though he was already clean. And it just, at first it felt so wrong, and I was like, no, because if you let him in here, you're gonna be just as stressed as you were when you got in here to begin with.
Correct.
And that, it was not easy to do that. But when I came out, like, I was just like floating on a cloud, and he was so upset with me. And he still came to me with no problem, but he was just looking at me like, how dare you go in there and have those 30 minutes to yourself. But it's just pushing myself through those times.
Absolutely.
I think it's very important.
Absolutely. I say you have to teach them too, because, excuse me, because they think the world revolves around them when we automatically respond and adhere to every need, every beck and call. And it doesn't work that way. You're going to have to wait sometimes. And today, you got to wait on mommy, because mommy is busy.
Right.
And it's okay to teach them that. It's 100% okay. It doesn't make you selfish at all. But guess what? I always say it's okay to be selfish, because our self is important.
For sure, yeah.
It is very important. Yeah. I think again, when we're younger, we're taught to do everything about other people. It's like what you're taught, go do this for somebody. Did you ask somebody if you can do that? How does that make that person feel? And sometimes I say, who cares? How do I feel?
Right.
What do I need to do?
Right.
And as a mom, it's like you just mentioned, as long as you are fed, safe, not in nobody's harm way at all, have a good day. I need my 15, my 20, my 30, my hour, whatever it is that I require, I need it. And when you're
my daughters are older, so they have a better understanding in him. And so they're 12 and 13. And so I'll tell them I'm not here. They know that. They're like, well, when do you be back? And I'll tell them like, oh, I'll be back in 15 minutes. I'll be back at 6. I'm just in my room. I'm not going anywhere, but I tell them I'm not here right now. Talk to daddy, talk to each other, talk to whoever, like, I'm not here. And I won't be doing anything in there. I could be reading, I could be watching, I could be closing my eyes, I could be doing something. I just tell them I'm not here. And they laugh. They think it's a joke, but they do respect it. And they'll just be like, they might knock on the door once or twice, be like, can you come back? And I'm like, nope, not yet. And they laugh about it, but I think it's like very important to teach that. And I'll be like, here, take your brother. Let me have this time. And then when I come back out of that room, and then I can be fun mom. I can do what y'all need me to do, because I don't think that they deserve for me to be irritated and be short with them when it's not them that I'm really irritated with. Are they doing irritating things? Absolutely. But they're just being children. They're exploring.
Correct.
They're, just, being themselves. But I'm really irritated with the world. Like, I'm mad about traffic. I'm mad about what happened at work. I'm mad about, whatever I have personally going on. It's not their fault. So I got to take my time, collect my thoughts, and then come and, show them love and pour love into them. And I also teach them to do things like go soak. or go in your
Mm-hmm.
room and just chill, and like, yeah, your sister want to play with you right now, but you don't have to play with her right now if you don't want to. You can take that time so just teaching them that too, I think is very important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, as a mom who is, rearing a special needs child and rearing other children who don't have the special needs, what advice would you give to a mother who may be just embarking on the journey, who's on the journey and maybe struggling? What advice would you give them on this journey of thriving as a mother of a special needs child?
I don't want to sound too cliche, but like, it's okay to cry. That is the advice I would give, because we just want to be so strong. And I think that hurt me at the very beginning. I didn't cry. I was going through it, and I was so stressed. I was getting grays, and I was, bags under my eyes, and I was just stressing and pushing. And I wanted to cry so bad. And I just told myself, no. I told myself that I was weak. And I'm like, you're stronger than that. Keep it going. But when I started to cry, when I had those moments where it's like, my child is frustrating me because I don't understand her and she's not understanding me, I don't cry like in front of her. Sometimes I do slip up and I'll explain to her why I'm crying. But for the most part, I will go to the room and I will just cry it out, or call a friend or my mom, or, I'll talk to my husband sometimes and just cry and talk about what's going on, and just releasing that and being able to say that it helps me kind of work through it, instead of just trying to bottle it all in, because, just internalizing it never works. And I was watching this documentary because my child, she's on the spectrum. And it's a woman who's on the spectrum, and she described it as being in a glass box where you can see everyone and everyone can see you, but they can't hear you and you can't really hear them. So you can, by expression and by emotion, you can communicate effectively, but it's so difficult. And you can understand them, but it's difficult. And when I think about that box, sometimes I, when I think about that box, I think that, I put myself in it sometimes so I can relate to what she's feeling, and what she's doing. And sometimes it's frustrating, sometimes it's heartbreaking, but I remember that and I might cry about it because I'm upset or because I'm frustrated, but then I can get through it. You know what I'm saying? Because then I'm like, okay, now that I've gotten past the emotional part, what can we do? Because at the end of the day, I still have to help her no matter what. We still have to get through it together. But just cry, and whether it's by yourself or in a pillow or to someone that you can trust with that, just releasing that emotion, I feel like, is the most important part, because then you can get through, okay, now that I got that out. Because if you operate on emotion, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. And I did that. I was just like, on how I feel and not on what would really be best for her. And that's something that I definitely regret earlier
Mm-hmm.
on. But now I can get through it, I can cry it out, and then I'm like, okay, now what do we really do? Do some research, jump back in there, and I think I can see where it's working better for her.
Awesome. 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 Again, we thank you for joining us. We're excited for your journey as a new mom again.
Thank
Children
you.
are a blessing, right? And
For
so,
sure.
no matter how they come, if they come
Mm-hmm.
with challenges or if they come easy, they're always a blessing. And it always takes a village to help raise them and rear them, no matter what, right? But in all
Yeah.
that, we also promote that you stay focused on self-love for yourself, that you are a vessel for their children to be able to, give them the best life that they deserve by taking care of yourself. Like, you have to do you, right? Like, you are super important. And so as we are celebrating Mother's Day, celebrating moms all month of May, do something special for yourself. Don't just be like, oh, what else can I do for my kids? No, it's your day. It's your month. Do something for you. Because remember, loving yourself so much that the love from others is a bonus. Thanks again for joining us, Angelica.
Thank you for
and we will
having
always welcome you back again. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on another episode of Loving Me Before I Love You. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a second to show your support by subscribing and leaving a positive rating and review on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Stay connected with Tammy. Make sure you're following her on Instagram and TikTok at Coach Tammy Nicole. If you like to work with Tammy or have any questions you'd like her to answer, please head over to www.IamTammyNicole.com. Until next time, always remember to love yourself so much that the love from others is a bonus.